Hello, everyone. I'm Oliver. I'm part of the Apigee team at Google Cloud. And I spend most of my time across the EMEA region working with a range of different industries on the why and the how around API strategies and programs. So I'm going to talk about API ecosystems in this session, because with the right culture and the right strategy around APIs, you can drive substantial outcomes around economies of scale, efficiency, and growth into your business. And APIs are how businesses within the platform economy interact. The platform economy is an opportunity and a risk to most industries. APIs themselves are not new. Indeed, I regularly meet businesses that have been trying to do this well for years. But what is new is how APIs bring flexibility and efficiency to business and commercial strategies, not just technology strategies, if you execute well. And of course, this has been the challenge with traditional business models, traditional ways of working, organizational boundaries, technology dependencies, and API has just been considered a technology topic. Many have struggled to execute well. So I want in this session to help you consider how within your business, you could leverage your scale, your brand, assets like data and technology, and with APIs improve efficiency and ultimately ensure your business can adapt. I think the key thing is that you can execute with a platform business model strategy so you can efficiently participate in ecosystems. Let's jump in. The future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. A quote there from the author, William Gibson. I really like this quote. It really resonated with me when I first came across it. You know, I've worked for traditional incumbents as well as startups, and quite frequently we would find ourselves looking at the competitive landscape, looking at digital natives and go, gosh, what is their secret sauce? How can they have this speed? How is it possible that they've been able to adapt and seize a new opportunity? And it's often like this when we look at digital natives. There's actually a lot that we can learn from this DNA that we see around platform business models, something that is baked into digital natives by default, but tends to be quite hard to bake into a traditional business, because often this is about really being an organization that can easily externalize their data and services. That's their kind of default modus operandi. Now, in this book, written by three authors, for both sort of consultants as well as academics, they explore in quite a lot of detail about API-powered ecosystems, how these can leverage internal economies of scale, improve speed to market, help organizations be able to build new ventures easily, but also external ecosystems about powering new partnerships, monetizing new services or data. And ultimately, a key signal is this exponential growth in participation, these network effects of growth, which you traditionally do not get with how organizations often execute. So ecosystems, is it important? Well, we think so, because staking out a position in ecosystems is of potential enormous value. McKinsey experts believe that by 2025, so not that far away, some $60 trillion in annual revenue will be distributed through the network economy or the platform economy. So there's lots to be up for grabs. We use the term platforms an awful lot, particularly in the technology sphere. But I want to emphasize that I'm talking about here platform business models where we've got a pane of glass between producers of value and consumers of value, and they exchange that data, that value, via APIs. And this is how we get these economies of scale. This is how we get this reusability, and these are network effects of growth. These producers could well be within your business, but could well be partners. And likewise with consumers, that could be proliferation of potential external partners, not just internal teams. So we've got this pane of glass. And what I have been advocating with our customers is use Apigee as that pane of glass so you can participate efficiently in the platform economy. Now, as I say, APIs have been around for quite some time, but we're not talking about just technology abstraction now. We're talking about highly reusable building blocks that are fed and watered like every other digital product should be. And that means that they're optimized for consumption, optimized for a user, perhaps an external developer, perhaps a partner. And of course, when I'm using something like Lego, as a user, I just focus on my creativity. I can take a building block from over there, a building block from over there, and I can combine and build something entirely new. It's down to my creativity. And at Google, APIs are immensely important. It's how data flows in and through and out of our business. It's by default how we tend to go to market. So APIs become a part of the digital nervous system of businesses that do this well. By 2023, over 50% of B2B transactions will be performed through real-time APIs versus traditional approaches such as EDI. And we've been working very closely, for example, with Maersk on their platform strategy. And research has shown that those organizations that do this, where their business model is predominantly an ecosystem model, experience revenue growth of approximately 27% or profit margin 20% above the average of their industry. So there's lots of evidence to show now that those that are doing this see a range of business and commercial effects that are good for the business, not just for the technology teams. So the platform becomes an important opportunity to onboard developers and partners, capture analytics, and it's also immensely important as a mechanism to protect the business. So we've got this huge opportunity, but of course we've got this huge challenge around security. And this year we're expecting API abuses will become the most common type of web application attack, resulting in a data breach. So we've got this challenge, this backdrop of a very challenging security context, attack profiles continually evolving, businesses needed to be more open, but you need to be ever more secure, which is why customers often like to standardize on the Apigee platform as this pane of glass around their business. Let's look at some industry examples to bring this to life. Now, of course, in retail, omnichannel has been a major play as part of their transformation effort for quite some time. What is new is this proliferation of channels, not just the channels that the retailer owns, but also channels including the contact center, mobile positions of sale and the shop floor, and other devices that the staff associates need, perhaps to help with stock picking or to help customers explore the products on offer. But we've got customers like Booking.com, who are very large partner ecosystems where they need to rapidly onboard this very large partner base so that they can offer that accommodation on their own platform. So these accommodation supplier partners. So that's something where we want to attract and we want to make it as easy as possible for these partners to sell their inventory on a platform. In the world of telco, telco has been pretty mature in this space for quite some time, often with a very technology mindset, but we've seen a lot of focus around how can we monetize data and services in new ways, perhaps through revenue share. Now, one of the challenges in telco has been huge amounts of CapEx being spent on 5G. So they're looking at freeing up money elsewhere. And so conversational interfaces powered by APIs connected to all the wide array of back-end systems like billing mean that we can drive more efficiency and economy into the contact center and handle so many more calls really quickly. So we're improving CSAT and we're reducing cost into the business. In financial services, we're shifting really from the world of open banking and PSD2 to a recognition, finally, that embedded finance is such an important play for the industry. We've got customers like ABN AMRO who've been very mature on this journey. They've got a fantastic developer portal where you can explore all these products and services, and they've got propositions like Tiki, which is immensely easy to connect to and bake it into your own product. Even traditional businesses like insurers, Nationwide and Allstate in America, are going to market with their APIs into new services, offering their insurance products embedded into other things like pet insurance into pet journeys, and car insurance when you jump into a car, and there's a sort of this micro insurance play. These organizations are even monetizing some of this data up and down their value stream. And in the world of manufacturing, a lot of focus around the digital twin. Customers like Daimler and Renault, the connected car is obviously generating vast amounts of data, and some of that data is then sent back to the core business, to which they can do some very interesting things. And Daimler is one of those customers that, on aggregate, this data becomes incredibly valuable, and we can monetize that down. As an example, the cars can detect poor road surfaces or dangerous road junctions, and municipalities want to pay for that because it means I can send a targeted team to go and fix a road surface or a junction. So those are some of the core plays, but ultimately what the sort of step change next is that this sort of maturity journey is around marketplaces and new ventures. And we've got, in the world of retail, companies like Conrad, who've now built a very comprehensive B2B marketplace. It was initially as a venture. It's now actually a huge focus. It's their main focus as a retailer. We've got retailers like Magalu in Brazil, whose mandate now is to become the operating system of Brazil. So the boundaries of industries is gone. They're connecting to telcos and financial services, but they want to ensure that any physical retailer can onboard onto their digital platform and become somebody that can sell on that platform. And a fascinating mandate. In telco, we've got companies like MTN in Africa. They've got a marketplace called Chinosis. This has got an amazing mandate, a Pan-African platform where any company can come along and offer up a digital service via an API, and MTN can then monetize that as it goes through their platform. And similar examples of that with other telcos such as Zain. And in the world of manufacturing, doubling down on this interest of data monetization. And companies like Schneider Electric Exchange have an entirely new business unit around operating this platform where partners can come along, offer up data products, new services, new solutions, machine learning models. For example, if I own a large office block, I might go to this platform to look for a solution that helps me save money, because I can connect to my lighting systems, my heating systems, and there is this product on there that means that it will analyze my consumption, and I can then save money in the operating of my businesses. So it's really some fascinating activity happening with these very large partner ecosystems of both producing value and consuming value in these marketplaces. But at the core, all of these businesses are wanting to democratize data internally. Sometimes we've got customers calling this like a data marketplace, but fundamentally we want to industrialize data products as APIs, and then they become these kind of sources of truth. And of course, we want to do that in a secure yet open way. So hopefully some food for thought. It's always valuable to look at other industries to see what's happening, and very interested in any questions that we may have around any of those. Of course, it tends to be invariably in a business, particularly any sort of sizable business, that there's a huge amount of value sort of locked below the surface. And I like this image of the iceberg. There tends to be vast amounts in pockets and silos and operating business units, sometimes completely separate businesses, part of a group. And we want to unlock that data, make it visible on the surface. And with this product mindset, curate a catalog, so it's easy for others to come along and discover and explore and get access through self-service to this data. The other extreme of this is really a proliferation of APIs. Perhaps you work for a company like this where you haven't actually really managed these APIs, you haven't curated them as products, and you end up with an enormous, sometimes many thousands of these little APIs, and it tends to be not much reuse, if any at all. It's so immediately off-putting that people tend to just build something entirely new and don't reuse. And so it's very hard to find even what's there, and it's certainly hard to use. And fundamentally, this rolls up to not being able to realize economies of scale at all. There's this locked away value. So we're shifting now really from a world where digital transformation is maybe even a tired term, but it's certainly not good enough anymore. I'm sure most of us have lived through at least a few of these transformation efforts. And so there's really now a significant shift we see to digital excellence. So we go from building just great products to building profitable platforms, right? Whether that is through direct monetization or indirect monetization, where we're just making it easy for others to work with us. So now digital is absolutely core to the strategy. It's not some funky business unit or in some unusual office space in a different location. It's very much baked into what really everything that the business is doing. And a business now needs to be composable, right? We need to deconstruct the business into all these different capabilities and make that available via an API. So I can take something from perhaps that business unit and something from that business unit and build something new. We need to be able to focus on delivering measurable business outcomes. I think technologists are getting better at this, but even in the world of sort of API programs, it's quite common to see organizations that are just measuring kind of technology KPIs. But I will touch on this in a bit more detail in just a second. And lastly, and certainly not least, we need to build ecosystems to reach more participants, more audiences, more users, more partners. So a business needs these capabilities to be data-driven. We need to be, from a production point of view, we need to scale and federate production of data products across the organization. And if you're a complex business with lots of different operating companies, that becomes ever more important as well. So when we enable that, we want to provide kind of certain guardrails. So we want to kind of govern that a little bit at least. But we want to enable it ultimately so we can unlock that data. And then from a consumption point of view, we want to make it super easy for the developers, internal teams, or partners to discover, get access to, self-serve to these API products. With analytics, we want to ensure that the perimeter, that pane of glass, becomes immensely powerful, a way of catching this data as it flows through, in and out of the business. We want to capture that analytics and drive it down to both production and consumption teams so that those product leaders can make informed decisions. Indeed, we can make informed decisions as a platform owner through that data. And of course, at scale, we want to govern and secure this. We want to confidently enable this with the building blocks so that people can do this safely and securely. And we want to have, from a scale point of view, a confidence that we can deal with peak trading points. So this is absolutely foundationally why companies are interested in Apigee. And these are foundational elements until you get to things, perhaps more advanced things like direct monetization. I found it fascinating in the State of DevOps report last year that they recognize that good documentation is foundational for successful implementing DevOps capabilities. So they now have concrete evidence to show that the best performing teams are those with good quality documentation. So those teams perform better. Tangibly, our customers are doing that with developer portals. Here's an example from DHL. It's an external portal, but this is very much applicable inside the business as well. So I can easily see what's on offer, filter, explore, test, then potentially sign up, potentially go to market, go into production with as little friction as possible. Externally, these portals become a key differentiator. The more and more businesses are doing this, the experience, the developer experience or the partner onboarding experience is a differentiating element for many of our customers. So we talked about measuring business outcomes just a moment ago. Here are some KPIs from a broad spectrum of our customer base. Partners, so reducing partner onboarding by 26x from 2 years to 4 weeks. Now, this isn't unusual. It's just one anecdote. Another customer drove partner onboarding from 6 months to 1 hour. That sort of delta is a common use case, a common reason why a company wants to not just use Apigee, but ultimately execute with this kind of platform business model, this leveraging of ecosystems and doing that super efficiently. And this delta happens because we've now got a portal that is easy to use, and it's all about self-service and trying to automate as much as possible, and reducing overhead around manual processes. These partner ecosystems also, we're not talking about kind of one-off. Some partner ecosystems are kind of curated and on the smaller side, but also we've got customers who run very large and diverse partners. Schneider Electric was certainly one, and in the world of telcos, very large partner ecosystems. Sometimes around 5,000 corporate partners. So large businesses, in one case powering 15,000 apps. Scale. If you think of the digital natives running these platform businesses, they tend to be on the lean side because we're leveraging network effects of growth. We can automate an awful lot. We're baking in all the sort of the latest techniques around DevOps and software engineering and SDLCs. So we can run a platform at 10x the scale of other projects with 1/10 of the workforce. This is an example from one of our technology customers. Another company that we work with, very much a traditional incumbent, was really focused around opportunity costs. They recognized that every release they could drive incremental revenue into the business. So they needed to run faster. There was a cost to that. And with this mindset, got to a point where they could increase the frequency of digital channel deployments by 30 times. So we've got lots of reuse of APIs driving all these different channels of engagement. And last but not least, an example here from a retailer that wanted to onboard producers of other products and sell them on their platform. And in that first year, increase the product count 10x from 50,000 to 1.5 million. So look, there's some good examples that I've seen across our customers of tying an API strategy to a commercial strategy and a commercial imperative. KPIs that are immensely important and powerful to these individual businesses. There are very useful technology KPIs like number of developers, speed to onboard a developer, mean time to recovery, things like that. But they're very much packaged and very useful in the technology sphere, but tend to not get the business terribly excited. Now, as we look ahead, conditions for businesses today are far from perfect. Inflation, the economy, sustainability, war, competitive pressures, and the supply chain, to name a few. But APIs provide our customers optionality, this ability to adapt quickly. And this ability to be able to course correct, I think, is immensely important in the context that we're in today. Perhaps that's a new channel, a new proposition, or a new venture in its own right into the business. But it's absolutely also about partnering and the ability to be able to partner quickly and cheaply. And with API-enabled partnering, the investment is reusable. We want to build something once and use that multiple times. It's fast to market, as demonstrated by some of those KPIs, which are just not unusual, right? This is all about getting partners active, getting into the hands of customers as quickly as possible. We can automate so much of these go-to-market strategies through APIs. And there are also low barriers to exit. I think a really powerful capability. How often we've gone to market with a partner only to find it's pretty torturous to extract ourselves. We want to be able to test and validate partner propositions often, and then we can invest further. And of course, lastly, we can find unanticipated opportunities. I think we've probably all worked for businesses where a new interesting idea never made it because the business case didn't justify it. But when organizations have a rich catalog of APIs and they can be reused, then these ventures, these ideas, these features, functions, propositions, and experiments happen. And then they can be validated, and then they can be invested in. Also, as we look to the future, we're seeing a lot of customers interested in the green digital ecosystems. And in fact, the European Commission themselves have amalgamated this as a twin challenge. And our leading customers are certainly very much involved with this. So if we think of the digital twin, a digital representation of an entity, I said the car could be a building, a farm, a pet, a manufacturing process. It's immensely important that real-time data can be shared out of these assets for the sake of sustainability. So, as we think about Scope 3 and very complex supply chains, we need this data in real time across all these different organizations involved in these complex supply chains. This data needs to evolve and be filtered and manipulated as it gets exchanged between these different participants. So I think for the success of green and sustainable markets, APIs must provide this interoperability between digital twins, providing this real-time information across these organizational boundaries. If we don't do that, what will invariably happen, and we've seen this in other regulatory areas, data exchange and regulatory reporting ends up being a manual process with lots of manual collation and spreadsheets, and that just does not scale. So I think as we're on this journey, I think the API economy and data sharing in these green digital ecosystems will become ever more prevalent. So as I wrap, what I've shared with you there is very much how we think about the world and why we build the product as we do. This is very much baked into the DNA of the Apigee product. So we've got catalogs for discoverability and ease of consumption and self-service. We've got API products, so you can curate, measure, and publish these core assets. We've got analytics to capture both technical KPIs as well as business KPIs. And we've got this management plane, so you can do this at scale safely and securely with the guardrails that you define as building blocks, so you can enable this proliferation of production and consumption safely and securely within software development pipelines or partner onboarding processes. And a runtime to meet you wherever you are today. And we've certainly got quite a number of customers who are on-prem or in some other public cloud provider, not just Google Cloud. And of course, I think what's immensely exciting is with Google's expertise around AI and security, there's lots of investment happening around that area. For example, to give you proactive operational alerts to identify unusual behavior. And if you think, these landscapes of APIs can be immensely complex, so that proactive alerting can be immensely powerful to help you identify early signals of perhaps a bad actor or a system that is invariably not behaving correctly. So all of this is really why analysts such as Gartner have ranked us a leader for the 6th consecutive year. And I think it's worth calling out here, there's real interest in things like Apigee Hybrid, where you can run your gateway in a number of different infrastructures. Our maturity of enabling customers run large programs where they can create API products and organize that around certain users, use cases, and partners. And ultimately, if you do want to data monetize, we've got a lot of experience in helping customers run those monetization programs. So in this session, I started off by saying the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. I think if you execute with a platform business model so you can leverage and participate in ecosystems efficiently is immensely important today. And I hope I've shown you some examples to indicate the momentum of the API economy. Tangible commercial business KPIs, research to show that those businesses that do this tend to be much more profitable and see increased revenue. So this is about driving economies of scale and distributing products in new and interesting ways. we have seen that APIs are products, these assets that become incredibly useful as building blocks. So they need to be continually fed and watered and curated and looked after. And lastly, this is about democratizing data, industrializing data across a business at scale and securely. Great. Thank you very much. And I look forward to any questions.
If there are any questions, you can ask them in the chat. Right now, I don't see any. So let's wait for a few seconds.
Yeah, sure. Happy to wait. If there's anything that's slightly unclear, or there are any particular industries or customer examples that I mentioned and you want to dive into that, please just shout. I've also run a program like this myself at a traditional business. So if there's any questions on execution, any challenges around that, please do ask.
Okay. I don't see any coming in right now. So I will thank you, Oliver, for this great session.
Thank you, Willem.
We were really happy to have you here.
Yeah, real pleasure to be able to participate. Sorry I couldn't get there in person, disaster with flights, etc. But yeah, looking forward to the conversations and questions that follow up. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Thanks. Bye.